So here we're going to take a look at the transformations of graphs of exponential functions. So in this particular section here, I have outlined for you all of the transformations for quadratic functions, because they're actually going to do some similar things here. So if you remember the transformations of quadratic functions, you had f of x equals x squared, and that was just your parent function. That had no transformations to it. When we multiplied that by a, so we had, and you could actually write this as a times f of x. Okay, that was a times x squared, so a was a compression or a stretch. So, and if a was negative, it reflected over the x-axis. So a similar thing will happen there, like with exponential functions. When we multiplied by that negative, or we had the negative exponent, it kind of reflected over the y-axis. Here we have f of x equals a times x minus h squared, where h was the horizontal shift. Okay, so remember when h was positive, we moved to the right. When h was negative, we moved to the left. And then k, that was our vertical shift. So when k was positive, it told us to go up. If k was negative, it told us to go down. So we're going to apply the same transformations to graphs of exponential functions. So here we're just going to describe those transformations of f of x is equal to 3 to the x power. So with this first one, we have g of x equals 3 to the x plus 1. And you need to think of this as having x plus 1 in parentheses. And when you have that in parentheses, it kind of relates back to the x minus h. So here we have a value of -1, which is actually going to tell us that we can get this graph by shifting f of x. So this is shift f of x 1 unit left. Okay, so we need to shift that whole graph 1 unit to the left, and that's going to get us the graph that we have here. H of x equals 3 to the x power minus 2. Now this is that after the parentheses, right? That minus 2. So this is actually going to tell us we're going to shift f of x down, because it's negative, 2 units. K of x is -3 to the x power. Notice here that your x is still positive. This is going to reflect, because your negative's out in the front. Okay, this is going to reflect f of x over the x-axis. Okay, and that's different from j of x, and if you look, you can see the negatives are in different places. J of x, when we have 3 to the negative x, that is going to reflect our graph over the y-axis. So as far as any kind of homework problems and anything like that, you'll be asked to show those reflections. And I also encourage you to go to the Desmos website, which if you go to www.desmos.com and then you type \calculator, and just kind of type in like f of x, and then type in the g of x and the h of x and the k of x, because that will actually kind of help you to go through that and visualize these transformations.